Yeah, Junday.
Yes, we didn't record that, Ellen, whatever you were saying to Lewis.
People will
now.
talk.
We are recording now. Hello everybody to the Planning Committee meeting. And this is Tuesday the 8th of February 2022. Apologies for absence, 21, 22, 66. Apologies for absence. To note apologies for absence.
Steve Owen.
Steve
Yeah.
Williams.
He's on holiday.
I read any, that's all, isn't it? Rachel will be late. She said, so I propose Steve. David seconded. All in favour? Thank you. 21, 22, 67 disclosures of interest. To receive declarations of interest from councillors on items on the agenda. Anybody anything? No. To receive written requests for dispensations. Have we had any written dispensations? No. Right, thank you. 21, 22, 68 to approve the minutes on the 12th of January, on the 11th of January 22. Are we all happy? Dale, you're proposing?
Yep.
Second, David, all in favour? Thanks very much. We've no public here, we know, nobody's turned up. 21, 22, 70, yeah, it's just a note, really the Laurel Bank one, despite the Royal Council and Philip Davis and Town Council, they've allowed them to have 3 dwellings instead of 6. Which I suppose is something, but...
Well, the same arguments that we made
Yeah.
still stand, don't they?
Well, they do really, yeah, but, you know, it's been proposed, it was proposed at Planning Panel meeting. And the Grange Road, yeah, well, again, the next door neighbour's fighting it, so good luck to her. So she wins it, but not always the case.
It's not good.
No. And you've all, 71, you all get the sheet of the decisions by Bradford Council, which Nicola sends out, so...
Really helpful, thank you very much,
And
Chair.
it's helpful.
Really helpful, thank you very much.
And it's pleasing to see that all the ones we approved, they've granted. So.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello,
Hi,
Rachel.
Rachel. There was one approved which we rejected.
Anyway, here's some time, Rachel. 21, 22, 72, consideration of plan applications. Number 1, 22/00062, Airgarth, Bedford Lane, Bingley, first floor, sign extension and construction of 2 rear dormers. I asked David to look at this for me.
Yeah, not a problem, Howard. There is no comments on the planning portal. I've had a look at the proposals. It's quite a big site. 2 rear dormers do look a bit on the large side. They seem to span the whole width of the property.
Yeah.
Now, whether that comes under good design or not, I will leave that to be judged by others. Bearing in mind that this looks out over the back of the property and there's nobody really anywhere near it, I would either mind to no comment or approve.
Which you want to do then?
No comment.
Right, David is proposing no comment. Do I have a second to Helen? All in favour? Cool. Number 2. 22/00063, 67 Southway, Elwick.
Right, one for me. 4 consulted, no comments as of yesterday. It's a single story rear extension, porch and side extension, turning the garage roof into a pitch roof. I don't have an issue with it.
Are you mindful to
Minded to
approve it?
approve, yeah.
David approved it, I'll second that. Are we all in favour? Please show. Everybody? Thank you, yes. Number 3, 22/0068, High Beaches Villa Road, 2-storey rear extension with reconfiguration of roof and additional rear dormers. Dale, please.
I don't think there's any problem with this, and I suggest that we approve it. It doesn't overlook anybody, it just extends further up the hillside. There's no They're not asking for any access. There were pages of stuff about rights of way. There are no rights of way actually related to it. There was a peculiar thing on the plans which I couldn't work out. It's a bin store.
Are you proposing approval then?
I propose approval.
Do you have a second of that, please, David? All in favour? Thank you. Everybody? You're right with that, Nicola?
Yeah.
Number 4. 22/00069 7 Park Top Cottages, Otley Road.
Right.
Demolishing the conservatory.
Yep, one for me. This is a little way on from the roundabout my house. It's a old set of cottages set back from the road
Going which way, David?
towards the post office in Elwick. There's been 6 consultees. 2 residents have objected. One about access across the site, and one about basically the size of it. There's a small conservatory currently there, single story, which you might say is in keeping with the block. However, what is proposed is not in keeping with the block. Scale is just totally out of anything else. It's a very distinctive little row of terrace houses.
So are you approving refusal?
No, I would recommend refusal
On the grounds
on design, size, massing.
The access as well, how it will affect the neighbour's property. I mean, the objections really highlight that.
That is technically not a
recommended
planning
refusal.
issue, but it's something to bear in mind. But and there was an issue maybe about a party wall, how they were going to build up to their wall. That there again isn't a planning issue. That's a civil legal matter.
So David has recommended refusal on the grounds of.
I second that.
Helen seconded. You're all in favour, please show. Thank you. Number 5, 21/06045, land at grid reference, Back Prehistoric Road, Dale.
This is I had no idea it was there, and it's in the middle of my ward, absolutely slap bang in the middle. It's a playing field for a primary school.
Yeah.
And they're asking to put a fence around it. And the reason they're coming to ask for planning permission is that there is a stone wall, and if you look at it, so if they put up a 2 metre fence, they wouldn't need planning permission, but because it's 2.4 metres, they do need planning permission.
Right.
And there's a stone wall on which local junior members of the aristocracy could climb into the premises. I think this actually fulfills so many goods for the children of this area in terms of exercise, in terms of fresh air, in terms of all the goods that children have suffered from over the last 2 years.
So
I'm definitely proposing this in favour. Now there are 7 comments. 4 of them are against and 3 of them are neutral. They don't actually need that, and there's massive space round the back. I don't know whether anybody's ever been up there, but there's massive space there and parking space. But they don't actually need to go onto that because they can access it, the building materials, through the car park. And I don't know whether you want to make a comment about that, but you could actually access the whole site through the car park, which is on Binney Street or something like that. Pardon?
Bin Street.
Bin Street.
So Dale is recommending approval of
I
it.
definitely
Do we have
recommend
a second, please?
approval.
Lewis, are we all in favour?
I'm going to abstain.
And Helen's abstaining. Right, number 6, 38 Kings Road, Bingley, lawful commencement of residential development associated with approval of 18/04833. This is Rachel's, but what I will do, Rachel, if you let me read out, because we did go into this a bit further, Nicola spoke to Martin Burke. The background is that planning permission of 18/04833 gave permission for construction of 2 times 3 bedroom semi-detached houses and 1 times 3 bedroom detached house on land at the end of King's Road between number 38 and the wall to the bypass. The date of permission was the 7th of January 2019. Condition 1 of the permission: the development to which this notice relates must be begun not later than the expiration of 3 years beginning with the date of this notice. So that's the 7th of January 2022. The supporting statement sets out what was done to begin the approved development. If the works were begun before the 7th of January 22, then the developer could carry on at leisure. In law, you don't have to do much to begin a development as long as the work is meaningful and definitely connected to whatever was approved. The supporting statement claims that before the 7th of January 22, they marked out the site, excavated a foundation trench, and poured concrete into the trench before the 7th of January 22. We have agreed to consult town councils on CLE applications because sometimes local councils have local knowledge about what has been happening on the site. So basically, and that's come from Martin Burke, the senior planning officer. So basically,
Well, yeah, it looks. Look, the photos that I've seen on the application, it looks like they have started meaningful work. They've begun it. So I don't see, I don't see the issue unless anyone knows anything else.
Well, we refused it initially.
We did, yes.
Because it was Marcus, in fact, who went and looked at it. I remember that.
We recommended
it's
refusal
right up
on grounds
against
of overdevelopment of the site on the 18th of November 2018.
I propose we note the comments from Mr. Burke, because there is an active planning application.
So are you proposing acceptance?
So what is that accepting?
No, I propose we note. There's nothing we can do about it.
We just
So we
note.
note
Yeah. Okay.
that lawful
Yeah.
development has started.
I propose that we note the lawful development has started.
Thank you, Rachel. And David seconded. Are we all in favour of that? Did you get that all right, Nicola? Yeah? Thanks. That's quite useful. Oh. Number 7. 22/00084 South Lodge, Higher Coach Road, Baildon. Refurbishment of existing lodge, removal of the dilapidated single-storey rear extension and replaced with a part 2-storey / part single-storey rear extension.
Chair, would you ask me to look at that?
David.
Yes. Right. No consultees, because there's no neighbours, other than the statutory consultees, and there is no online comments as such. However, Conservation Officer is none too plussed.
No.
The previous application was refused, and basically they've done very little
They've
else.
tinkered around the
Yes.
edges.
So there's a whole raft of reasons for refusal, but I would concur. While it isn't particularly of an issue, it's the issue that it creates towards the World Heritage site. It's in the buffer zone.
Right, so what do we
So
say?
I would go for refusal.
Chair, can I speak to this, please?
Size,
David, you're refusing on the grounds of.
basically size, design.
Everything that the
Yeah, everything
Conservation
that the
Officer
Conservation
says.
Officer said.
Did you want to add
And
to
there's
that
an
there?
armful.
Did you want
Yes,
to
I
that
certainly
there?
do. Actually, they're proposing to use proper materials. Victorian lodges were built on a very small scale with very small rooms for residents. It is not going to look a major eyesore. I think the Shipley lot with their conservation report have got a blooming cheek. Actually, when you walk down further down there, you will find blocks of flats that are totally out of place with the conservation area in brick, just the other side of the beck. So I shall vote in favour of this.
You're voting in favour of this?
I'm going to vote in favour of this.
David
development.
has proposed that we refuse it on the grounds. Do we have a seconder for
I
that?
second that.
We have a seconder. Right, so all in favour of those in of the refusal. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's carried there.
Well, I'm voting against.
All right, well,
I wish
vote,
it-
vote
yeah.
against. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that.
2 voted against, yeah. Right, number 8, 21/06400, Fire Pit, Market Street, Bingley, replacement of damaged timber with posts and steelwork, roof refurbishment and repairs to the drying tower. Lewis?
Yeah, so there were no comments on this. I looked at the documents. There didn't seem to be any obvious reason to decline it. I know that sometimes, well, yeah, I see no reason to decline it. There's no reason to reject it, in my opinion. So I
you
move to approve it.
The only comment I would make is they said that in the notes from Bradford, it said extra information was needed because they included things like replacement of defective windowsills and outside work on the boundary that doesn't actually appear on the application.
So there was a document that, to be completely transparent, didn't make full sense to me.
Yeah,
but that document was from Bradford rather than sort of anything submitted on behalf of the fire pit. So the document that didn't make full sense to me used. Hang on. It was from the Department of Place, and it refers to footpath 251 abutting the site as shown on the plan. However, it doesn't obviously. Sorry, I'm showing Helen because she's nearby. It doesn't obviously abut it. I did have to look up what abut meant because I've never heard it in any other context. So to me, it didn't quite mesh. So I didn't understand what the problem would be. But with that being, so I move to approve, but I'm open to.
Well, no,
I'm wrong.
I agree with you. I mean, if they're going to fix it, and it needs fixing in the conservation area, it needs doing,
So Lewis is recommending approval. Do we have a seconder for that, please? David, all in favour? Yeah, that's everybody. Thank you. Number 9, 22/00128. Low Springs, Potted Brown Road at Baildon. This is another one that's right on the edge. Convert existing 2-storey garage, workshop, store into residential dwelling.
Chair,
Mr.
if I can maybe suggest at item 14, we then have another application for Lowen to build a garage to replace the garage that they're turning into a house. So it might be worth considering both at once and at item 14.
Right, well on that note we'll take, do you get that, Nick? We're going to take 9 and 14 together. So right then, David, if you would like to.
Well, do you want to do them now or at number 14?
Well, I think we'll do them
Do
now.
that, right, okay. There's item 9. This is an application to convert an existing 2-storey garage, workshop, annex type thing into a residential dwelling. The property stands at the end of Sconce Lane at Low Baildon. So as you come over Baildon Moor and turn left, and there's some farmsteads on your right, and then you come into a narrow little bendy road, and right on the corner of Sconce Lane is this property. Okay, so that gives you some context with it. Obviously, when you look at the item 14, there seems to be access for both properties. The site is quite a large site, but it's actually cramming everything into one corner on the auspice that there was a building there in 1934, some shed or other. And whether you take the view that it could be cramping of that particular corner of the site when you could maybe do exactly what you wanted to do but have use more of the rest of the site. So, if you look at 14, the new garage and stores built into a side of existing dwelling, well, there's a T1 TPO tree to go, although they do say they're going to plant some more. Um,
So something about it being on the green belt. Has already
It
been
is-
a refusal there.
there's already been a planning history, and it was refused previously, the conversion. I'm not of the opinion that it will enhance that very small little hamlet. What you will see, instead of a string of properties winding down the side, and they get very close, the really bad bends before you go down to the caravan park, and there's been some significant developments down there, but this would just sort of stick out the building line, really. So I'd be minded to say no.
I would agree.
For number 9 and number...
Building on the green belt.
Yeah,
You know that.
So for number 9, David, you are recommending refusal...
As well as number 14.
As well as number 14. Yeah. Refusal on the grounds of...
I don't think there's any special circumstances to warrant that development.
Green belt,
Yeah. Also, the local street scene, with this protrusion out of that street scene, I don't think it does anything
spoil
to
the
that visual amenity
yeah.
of that hamlet.
Any traffic implications, David?
Well, I suppose if you built another dwelling, then there could be at least 2 more cars. It's not a particularly good road, but they appear to be using an entrance on the main road to access. So I wouldn't want to go down the traffic line, because you could park 6 cars in your your drive and go in and out.
It's on the bend, so there's clear visibility.
As is, well, there's very little visibility, but you could have significant number of cars. I think, moreover, the special circumstance in Greenbelt, the visual amenity, with it coming out of the building line in a small hamlet.
So you are approving refusal on those grounds. Have you got that, Nicola? For 9 and 14. Do we have a second for those 2, please, Helen? All in favour? That's 9 and 14. Thanks, David, for bringing that to note. It was helpful. Number 10. 22/0005 Shipley Builders Scouts, Scones Lane, Eldwick.
Me again.
You again, relocation.
Literally at the back of Low End, a little bit further up Sconce Lane. I'm minded to support. They do have to have bottled gas. Currently, the gas storage is attached to near where the little darlings sleep, eat, play, and do what have you. The cladding of the steel containers would, in my view, look better than a steel container. And actually the health and safety works to put the gas supply at a good distance from the main habitation, if we can call that, is a health and safety thing. It also makes sure that that site is still a valued, viable site. Yeah. So I'd be minded to approve, even though...
David is recommending approval. Do we have a second of Lewis? So we're all in favour, please show. That's everybody. Thank you. You've got a breather for a minute now, David.
No, I have somebody else next.
Number 11. 22/00202 Ashfield Gardens, single and 2-storey side extension. Rachel, please.
Yeah, it's this is just going sort of down Beck Lane before you turn off, before you carry on going to the canal. It's a extension. It doesn't really overlook anyone. There's some comments, 2 in support, 1 neutral, that just says neutral. There's no comment there. So I can't see any issues with
Are
it.
you mindful to approve?
Mindful
then?
to approve,
Rachel is
yes.
recommending approval. Do we have a seconder to that, please? David, and we're all in favour? Yes.
Sorry, yes. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Number 12. This is again on,
Me for Howard.
yes.
Fairdale, up in Cottingley.
It's quite a nice property.
It's quite a sympathetic single-story rear extension. I don't have an issue with it.
No, they did have a look. I mean, it's quite alright. So David is recommending approval. I'll second that. All in favour, please show. Thank you. Where do we go next?
13.
Number 13. 10 Candlestick Girls, 22/00258.
I have a few sort of concerns about this one. There's been 4 consulted, no objections from the public. Rights of way are okay with the work as long as they do whatever they need to do. It's quite a large extension at the back of a property that fills in the back of a garage, basically. But when you actually look at it on the site map, and some people have the benefit of that at the minute, the extension, if you look at, does that make it better? Yeah. The extension fills in quite close to the neighbour's property. Now, maybe the neighbour might have objected, or maybe the neighbour doesn't know about it. But it is a significant extension.
So,
I could go no comment unless other people are more minded to think that it's going to impinge on the neighbours. The properties are quite close
Are
together.
there any comments?
There's no comments.
You looked at it, David.
Yes,
Make
yeah.
a recommendation.
I go no comment.
David is approving no comment. I'll second that. So, all in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much for what you've done for me, David. Much appreciated. Where are we now? Number 14. Oh, we've done number 14. Number
Yep.
15. 22/00151 Car House Farm, Car Lane. Change of use of agricultural building to former dwelling. Rachel.
Yeah, I agree with the email that Dale sent earlier about referring this to a planning panel.
Yeah.
For one thing, I'm not totally confident on my expertise when it comes to it. Another thing is that there was, yes, a drainage consultation that wasn't very sort of complimentary. It said there was quite a lot of strict conditions that needed to be fulfilled. Would they be able to fulfil them? Not so sure. So I think best to, where I see it, if it's above our pay grade, sort of refer it to
Are you recommending?
I recommend it goes to a
What,
panel.
and your objections, sorry, through the chair, Dale, was about the actual
Well,
design of it.
several things actually. First of all, it doesn't improve the area at all. It's an attractive village, Micklethwaite, and this is a really ugly agricultural building.
Yeah.
Now we've been round this circle before, actually. It's and they're proposing to use the same materials again.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. So really poor materials. It's right on the street. I think I'd be much more sympathetic if they proposed to use stone on the road, and then it would fit with the rest of the village.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually. It won't fit with the rest of the village. It's still an agricultural building. They're obviously going to share the entrance to the lane with and parking round the back. It took me ages to work out where the front door was. Actually, maybe I'm a bit slow on this, but it took me ages to work out where the front door was. So they're going to have quite a close relationship. The two together, and maybe that's what the plan is. And I didn't see any attention to insulation of the property and the materials, and we ought to be interested in ecologically sound buildings. And this is an agricultural building that's just being
So,
revamped as a dwelling.
so what Rachel is proposing then?
Can I
I'm
just-
seconding
Can I
that.
just make a little
Yes,
comment there? And I get where you're coming from on design. We had that awful one that we
Ramsgate.
batted backwards and forwards. God knows how
Greenbelt,
many-
sorry.
Yeah. Does the host property, Car House Farm, have land? Because if they have land, the next application that will be coming is to stick another barn on the land to service the land.
Right, yeah.
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, because the application site will only be, as I looked at it, the boundary for what the property they're giving.
Yeah.
So, without that information, I think the potential for another agricultural building going in at the top of the village
Could happen.
is a fair option. So we're replacing one agricultural building to make a property which still looks like an agricultural building and quite frankly does nothing to the entrance to Micklethwaite Village and Peaseacre. And then we might end up with another agricultural barn for their llamas or whatever they so wish to have. So I'd be minded to go along with Dale, Greenbelt, design. You've got to show there's a significant reason to build in Greenbelt.
Yeah.
I can't see that. I only had a brief look, and it isn't like they're saying it's for an agricultural tenant or anything like that, where you might be sympathetic.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy to go along with Dale on this.
So where are we
The
up
reason
now?
I've gone for the reason I've suggested to the committee that we have that we send it to panel is we have no levers on Bradford at all, apart from sending things to panel. We have the authority to send it to panel. That may not work very well, but it is a shot across the bow saying we're not happy
Can I
with this.
give the wording that I usually use? Okay. If officers are minded to refuse, Bingley Town Council would support them in that decision under delegated powers. If, however, they are minded to approve, we request it goes to an area planning panel for members to make the decision.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Because if people say, "Oh, we'll send it to panel." Well, if the officers want to refuse it, you said go to panel. You just shot yourself in the foot.
I know what panels look like.
Yes, so it can be a whole host of issues. So if officers are minded to refuse under delegated powers, Bingley Town Council would support them in that. Decision.
Yeah, I'll propose that.
So Nicola, have you got all that?
Yeah.
That Nicola's, that Rachel's proposing what she said,
Yeah.
and David seconded it, and I'm all in favour, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea, I mean, it's...
Quite helpful, David.
Yeah,
Thank
what
you.
we don't want is stuff going to panel.
What we don't want is for it to go to panel and councillors to say, no, that's all right, bang.
Yeah. But we can do a tick out and do what they want. Number 16, 22/00306, former site of Bingley Police Station. Construction of 45 retirement living units with care, C3 use, Lewis. This is no real surprise, I suppose.
No. So there are two comments that have been left. There is one that is neutral, but I would consider it actually negative, even though they've identified it as neutral. There are not enough disabled parking spaces for residents and visitors, including doctors, ambulances, etc. I would consider that negative rather than neutral. And one in support. At last, something is happening to this site. I live directly across the road from this site, and it is in full view of my lounge room. I'm delighted that this build is on the cards. I say the sooner the better. So I'm minded to approve it. However, I would like to note that, and I haven't looked at the status of the neighbourhood plan, but I'm mindful of consistency here because we have residences for older people either side of what I would consider central Bingley. If this goes through especially, yet at the same time we've got sort of a growing nightlife in central Bingley, because I think the Route 66 bar is due to open very shortly. That's in central Bingley. So if we're appealing to a younger demographic on the one hand, yet we're sort of surrounding where this younger demographic are going to be on a night time with where older people are, is there a consistency problem?
There is a noise
Well, I
survey.
would just say
Helen.
we've got a housing needs assessment in the neighbourhood plan, and I can't quote exactly, but Steve's not here, I'm sure he would. But part of the housing needs assessment is that the population of Bingley is a substantial growing elderly population, and that smaller properties are needed in order to free, and instead of 4 and 5 bedroom houses, because there are lots of bigger houses which are underoccupied, which
So therefore,
so that you need more smaller places for older people, in order to free up some of the other housing for families.
It was a point I was going to make. I've been contacted by a couple of people, and I've seen some bits on social media. Won't it be good for affordable housing? Actually, by older people releasing their big houses that 1 or 2 people rattle round in, all of a sudden there is some family houses and people sort of shuffle up the tree. So, yes, Bingley does have a reasonably high proportion of retirement living, and it does say retirement living, so this could be 55, 65, people with significant incomes to spend, and that may be in local shops. So whereas we don't want to be seen as a retirement village, actually I don't think this is of great concern, because you would only have some other type of flats going up which wouldn't be suitable for families, or you could have something like a drive-through or anything like that. So looking at the proposal, with caveats, I think it is a good use of the site.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because I like the idea of second retirement. I may face it myself at some point, when you can't manage the garden anymore, and it releases property, as David says, for families and so on, with gardens and so on. Also, it's good for elders to be near the town centre, so that they can totter into the co-op or wherever it is, or the library, or whatever it is, the daytime facilities in Bingley, and it's within easy reach. I do have a reservation, a question, but we'll come to that at the end, because it's quite separate from what we're discussing.
Rachel.
Yeah, my only reservation would be what the demand is like. I mean, in a perfect world, when people get to a certain age, they relinquish their home, they sell it, and they downgrade, or they downsize. However, in reality, that doesn't always happen, and people don't always go to this step of retirement living before having to go into a home. My parents are in their 70s. I don't think they have any intention in going somewhere like this, because they want to keep their garden. My grandma had an experience with one of these retirement living places, and I'm not dissing the care or anything like that. It was great for certain people. However, I was aware that there were a lot of units vacant when she was in there, and when you try to sell that place, it's very difficult sometimes to sell, and it can leave people in quite a financial situation, because they have to still continue paying the service charge, which is very expensive, as well as then perhaps even paying nursing home fees on top of that. So I just worry that it's for a particular type. It's not for all.
I need to declare an interest.
You declare an interest.
I have a close relative in one of these sort of said retirement homes.
So not every retired person, not everyone above the age of 60 is going to automatically move into one of these places. I think a lot of older people prefer to stay in their own home.
Yeah.
And I'd just be interested to know what the vacancy rate
Okay.
with Airville Court, what's the other one called?
Sutton House.
Sutton House, and the one that was the old auction market. How many of those are actually occupied?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's probably above our power, but I'd be interested to know if they're full to capacity. Yeah, this is a great idea. However, you know, perhaps maybe if we've got a housing crisis, it'd be better taken up with just normal flats rather than retirement living, which is a bit of a cash cow, for being honest.
First of all, I would echo what Rachel just said. My daughter works in for housing associations, and one of the main problems is people selling them afterwards. They are very difficult and do leave families with a significant financial burden because you've still got to pay the ground rent and facilities and all the rest of it, even if it's empty. So that's, you know, something. But again, it's kind of not really our problem. My concern about this is the amount of parking there is there.
Yeah.
There's 45 units, 28 car parking spaces, of which 3 are for disabled. Now, if this is available for people from 55 plus, say, which most of them are, the expectation from the government is that people will work till they're 66. That will go up. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
So, you know, there'll be couples there who are still working, who've got another 10, maybe 15 years of work left in them, perhaps with 2 cars.
Yeah.
And I don't think that 28 car parking spaces is enough.
I think I agree, yeah.
And, you know, they've put in their whole spiel they've got here about there's car parking locally and stuff. Well, yes, there is, but you get 2 hours on one side of the road, the police station side, 90 minutes on another. The most you can have at the old magistrates car park is 4 hours. You know, are you going to have people constantly running in and out to move their cars, feed a meter or whatever? And I really think that 28 for 45 dwellings is not enough. They need to reduce the amount of dwellings and increase the car parking spaces so that everybody has at least one.
I agree with what Helen says. I mean, there's certainly nowhere near enough. Lewis,
I think David was next.
Yeah, that is a valid point. Whether within some of the landscaping or arrangements in and around the site, they actually do need to increase that, because is there an expectation by the developer that they will get residents only permit parking near the development? Well, actually, I think that is highly unlikely.
It's not a lot of room.
As that is parking for business, shoppers, recreation visits to Bingley. So, you know, with a caveat that they need to go look at extending their parking and consider that, as Helen pointed out, half an hour here, 90 minutes there, whatever, that there is no overspill parking.
And I don't think that 3 disabled parking spots is sufficient. You know, if it is a retirement place, even if you have got people from 55 plus, as people get older, more and more people will have disabilities.
Well, they do,
and I think 3 disabled parking spots is a hoot, actually. And what are they thinking?
Because the next thing then, they will be applying for a disabled permanent bay on the main road, and we're back to the point of
you take away parking for businesses,
shoppers, recreation activity, etc., etc.
So we're mindful to...
Sorry, I was just going to comment back if I may. So, as I said at the start, I am broadly in support of it, but I think that you've made really good points about parking. So my take on the parking was that my mum, do you remember the John Smith's advert? Where he rocked up at her house and said, right, you're 55, my snooker table's going in here. It feels like my mum did that to herself. She turned 60 and she's like, right, I'm off to one of these. Really? Okay. So I've got a little bit of sort of knowledge, not a lot, but a little bit. And to be fair, her parking places, it's pretty full, but it is probably a worse ratio than this is. So 28 to 45, there are hundreds of flats where she is, and the ratio isn't that generous. It is full, but it just about works. On top of that, although you are going to get the sort of working but living in a retirement sort of cohort, like the 55s to let's just say 70s, I would guess aren't going to compose the majority. So therefore, I sort of winced as I thought 28. Certainly 3 disabled parking bays isn't sufficient. But yeah, to address a comment that I made at the start, I'm by no means saying that Bingley shouldn't try and make the centre appealing for people of lower ages, by the way. That isn't what I was trying to say. I was just trying to say if we have Bingley as some sort of party central on Friday and Saturday nights, and then there's a wall of retirement homes around it, everyone's going to be unhappy. So just trying to be mindful of that.
In that case, I'd like
Yeah, the
to
thing
wrap
is, you
this-
might get to 55. It doesn't mean you don't want to go to the pub.
No, you actually look at
Speaking
some of the nighttime economy in Bingley.
Yeah.
I'm comparatively young in quite a few of them.
So I was just going to say something that's just occurred to me as well with the lack of parking spaces. If some of these people are elderly, well, they are going to be over 55, and they are having carers come in or relatives come and visit, then there needs to be parking. And on a lot of the streets where you will park, are those carers going to want to pay for parking?
No.
There's a lot of permit holders only parking around here as well.
Yeah, I want to wrap this up then.
Yeah.
I just sorry, I was going to make a comment about drainage, which is not particularly. It's not. I mean, it's a general comment. The drainage is going to go straight into the sewer, which takes both rainwater and also foul water, and that's the situation with my property, our property, my property. That means more sewage in the river air, actually, and that's a general point, and it's not particularly applicable to this, except there are 45, I think as a town council we ought to be thinking about that, and as a general issue, but maybe not in relation to this. So I would say that agree, Chair, that there is not enough parking in this proposal, and that therefore.
So,
who is
Lewis,
proposing
you are mindful to approve it, but
May I include a caveat about revising the parking situations with specific regard to the disabled spaces as well?
did you get all that, Nicola? Yeah. So Lewis is proposing it. I'll second it.
Sorry, what is the proposal, Chair?
It's
That
the
we
proposal
approve it.
to approve with the caveats of
Extended parking.
That there's not sufficient
Recommend
parking.
insufficient, but with insufficient.
recommend insufficient parking, especially in relation to disabled bays.
Thank you.
Seconded that. Are we all in favour? Brilliant. Rachel,
Against.
you against it, right? Okay. Number 17, 22/00387, 78 Otley Road, Elwick. Mr. Isleton.
You've been busy, Councillor Hazeltine.
Yes, yeah.
It's election coming up. Oh, sorry, no.
Dale.
Consulted for, objections from consultees 0. It's one of the great old things. We will knock our garage down and put an extension on, and that obviously might mean there is more cars at said property, and one just does have to ask the question regarding parking. The site is a reasonable size site. I'd be minded to go no comment.
Okay, David's approving no comment. Do we have a seconder to that, please? Helen, are we all in favour? Yep. Thank you. Number 18. Councillor Owen gets a say now, doesn't she? Number 18, 22/00397, 3 Nightingale Walk, Gilstead, loft conversion, etc. Helen. please?
Lovely pictures and photographs. I always do like it when it's nice pictures. There were no objections from neighbours, only 2 have been consulted. I think I'm inclined to go for no comment because
Okay.
it seems to me 2 front pitch dormer windows and a rear box dormer window. I think it's going to make that house really stand out.
Is it going to look horrible?
In that.
It won't be in keeping with the rest.
Yeah, I think the neighbours, once they realise how big it is, I think they won't like it.
Sounds a bit like.
By then it'll be too late. Yeah.
So Helen is
I would
minded.
say no comment.
Helen is brewing no comment. Do I second to that, please? David, all in favour? Yeah. You. Number 90, Fern Lodge, Fern Hill, 21/06129, Fern Lodge, Fern Hill, Bingley. Lewis.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's for dog grooming purposes.
very, very wholesome change of use. I'm sure everyone will agree.
You've seen the picture of the dog.
I was going to say not that you're in any way
I have a
biased.
vested interest. I'm going to use this lady to get Oscar sorted. No, yeah, I've got to be honest here. This is a venue I've not had the opportunity to visit and physically check out myself.
I did visit I visited it this morning, Chair. So, but carry on.
But yeah, to me, there doesn't seem to be anything particularly radical going on. Although on the location here, it does make it appear as if it's actually going to be quite a big extension that's going to be done. There is a property opposite, which may take umbrage with it, but there were no comments that were left on the application.
So, what are you saying, Lewis?
I mean, my thoughts are, so it's a business, and it's in a residential area. Where are the customers going to park?
That is exactly my question.
That's what I'm thinking to myself. A dog grooming business, I've got no objection to that, but
where are they going to park?
you know, it's.
But it's all the business has already begun, hasn't
Hold
it?
an hour.
No. And on top of that, my experience of getting Oscar groomed is you pull up, you walk him in, then you leave him, then you come back an hour later. So it's not like that you're parked.
It is
you're not
people
parked there for an
parking
hour.
on Lady Lane though, because
Yeah.
that Fern Hill is incredibly steep and narrow.
So there's going to be obviously parking issues, but
But if it's already started
it's already started. What we can.
and no one's made any comments.
No.
Is there any enforcement going on, or is that what's triggered the?
I think yes.
Is that it? Has maybe an enforcement action triggered a retrospective?
I
So
think
there was
you're right.
there was an application. Sorry, Dale.
Okay.
There was.
Okay, go on.
Sorry, there was an application made, and I think the application was
Yes, sir.
originally submitted on the 20th of the 7th, 2020. The activity began, and it was on and off due to COVID interruption and lockdown measures. So it's been going on for 18 months. So I would presume that disruption has sort of existed for that long, and there aren't any complaints that I'm aware of about this. So by extension, I'm presuming that there isn't a problem, but as you can tell, I don't feel fully confident. So
Yeah.
I think the road's very narrow up there. There's nowhere obvious, and it's hardly made up at all. Actually, it's nowhere obvious to turn round. There is an extent. There's a second extent. There's an extension going on of probably a second garage, which is on the side of this. I wasn't aware that there was a business being prosecuted from there.
Can we get the application up on there while we're owling?
Yes, because I can't get it up.
Yeah.
It just means that the people that watch the recording won't see it.
Well, they'll hear it.
Yeah.
yeah, that's easier than me swizzing this round so you can see.
And there's active building on the site at the moment with 4 steel pillars for what I presume is a new
it's already
garage. And
ongoing,
they achieved planning permission for that in April last year, and I think we approved that.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
He was just Your laptop's not playing the game here.
Yeah, just control and click.
It's not North my
Do you want me to do it?
tablet.
Oh, it's doing it. It heard you come in.
That laptop knows it's playing.
Yeah.
We've got a few more buttons for it.
So if you just open.
Still using.
Might was
It's because of the internet with the owl.
Excuse me, sorry, I'm not that far.
Oh, you've got it.
Right.
Come on, managed to get it done.
yeah,
It's
it's
coming.
starting. Just the buffering.
It's getting there. So,
Right, what should we look at?
Do you want?
I
I
think
would
I
have-
looked at the application form.
So we'll look at location plan as well. And then items related, because that should give previous.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
two. Yeah,
Why is it not opening?
it is. It's just
Sometimes
Yeah.
it might download it.
I don't think it's the planning portal though. I think it's our internet
Yes.
that's.
There's internet here, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crap.
Why don't you say what you mean?
that's a is that a technical term?
Yes.
Yes, just to confirm, listeners, that is a technical term.
You'll have to zoom into that quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
So that's where it is.
Yeah, and if you look actually in that sort of bulb at the bottom of the dog bone,
Yeah.
they're building a garage at the moment. I imagine it's a
If you
garage.
just click
but-
off that, Eve.
Yeah, if you
I think if you
move your cursor to the top of the pane, top of the screen. Yeah, there you go. Then there's a plus. Yeah, there you go.
Drag it up a bit.
Yeah.
So
There isn't a great deal of information here. It is. So from what I can gather from the information that I had available, there aren't many neighbouring properties. Well, there's 1 through to 4 there, but there does seem to be a reasonable amount of space between them. Even a reasonable amount of space post extension here. It's the property opposite number 1 that may have an issue with it.
So can we have a look at the other?
I mean, the
document?
existing one is not worth loading up.
it's
Yeah.
just
So
garage.
if you
Word
go
garage
to up
written on
the
it.
top there, items related to this application, and just see if that throws anything up.
Just two rules, it so they've been.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to fish around to actually find, and actually go into the property, which then gives
Yeah,
its
you
full
went to
history.
property, can't you?
Quite slow on my internet. Oh.
Yeah, very
So
slow,
Eva,
isn't it?
use the mouse?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. So I don't think that keyboard works.
It is
No, it's
whirling
doing it.
around.
It's-
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
I was thinking
I can't
about
see
it.
from here.
How are those new laptops coming along?
You what, sorry?
How are those new laptops coming
One of
along?
them's ordered.
I've got mine ordered.
Yeah.
It's not the laptops, it's the Wi-Fi.
It's alright.
It's the Wi-Fi, yeah.
What's this?
Right, what have we got here? Hey?
Broadband's not working.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just click off that and try again. It did that earlier.
Yeah, it did that to me earlier.
Are we overloading it?
Yeah.
I'm not using the Wi-Fi. I'm using
I'm
my
not using it
hotspot.
either.
Are you
Sorry, I'm
using Wi-Fi
guilty.
down?
I'll stop it.
Can you please, yeah. Take it off and then
Yeah, so it worked for me if I just clicked off that and clicked on it again.
It says there's an awful lot of stuff on it actually at the moment. It's 6 things on it.
Ah,
Ah, right. Down there. Right,
Dogma.
I liked that. As
It's
well.
called Dogma.
One's approving.
That's amazing. I'll do like a good pun.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Right.
let's have
They
a look
used
at
to be
the-
down on Whitley Street,
Let's have a look at
next to the
the lodge
hairdressers.
itself.
Did they?
opposite Carpet Time. Yeah, I'm sure that's.
I don't remember a dog grooming place there.
Yeah, it was on your left there, straight opposite the car parking. The carpet
So
place.
that
Find out
So
who
what
the
have we
dog
got here
owners
then?
are.
So there are 5 planning applications, and there are 5
Property history
building
10.
control applications.
That's what we need to go into next. Property history 10.
Yeah, I've got them.
Have
Here.
you got it up?
Yeah.
Right, what have we got? There's 5. Can anybody read them?
Yeah, so you've got 1 crown lift to clear telephone wires by a maximum of 1.5 metres. Remove 4 lowest
we've got a new
branches of a
garage
cedar
and-
tree. Plant demolition of an existing single-storey garage and construction of a single-storey extension incorporation.
Which is what you've seen, isn't it?
Yeah. And a single-storey extension to form annex and use of garage for dog grooming purposes.
So it's just the bottom one, right? Yeah. So they're all granted, you know.
Yeah, so there's no enforcement. So.
No.
The bottom one is pending consideration.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what else do you want to look at? Anybody?
That's what we're talking about, the bottom one.
Yeah.
Well,
So on the basis of that,
The only issue really that I can think of is parking.
Access and
Parking
Yeah.
and running a business from a residential area.
well,
If they were selling speed,
they're
they're
not
more
gonna-
sympathy for that.
It's not a boarding place for dogs though, so they're not
No.
going to be howling into the
No.
night, are they?
and as long as their insurance, their
yeah.
insurance covers it, that's there.
And as far as I'm concerned, the traffic problem to a greater or lesser degree has existed since July of 2020 when they
So,
actually
yeah, so-
started.
And I managed to park right back on the main road, actually. Just
So Lewis,
I'm proposing no comment.
you're proposing no comment. Do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second
Yeah.
that.
All in favour? Thank you very much. 2273 update regarding Green Hill. I haven't seen anything.
Nope.
Milner Fields Farm, similarly. And the Abella incinerator. Nothing is there. That seems to have gone very quiet. I suppose it's trying to find some money. So thank you very much. The next meeting will be here on 8th of March, 6. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you, everybody.
When you tapped me up to join, you did say that they were short